What's up, guys? It is Chris back for Watch Chris. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell icon and all of that good stuff. I very much appreciate it. Today, we're taking a look at a watch that has a complication that is usually reserved for watches that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's from Atowak, and this is a central tourbillon. I've actually featured a central tourbillon here on my channel, and that was around an $80,000 or $90,000 watch, or at least it started at that price. Today we're taking a look at one that starts for a fraction of that price, actually a fraction of the tax of that original watch that we looked at here on the channel. And how do they do it? Well, Atowak is a Chinese brand, and they make very affordable watches. They actually did the same thing with Wandering Hour watches, which they made affordable. So let's take a look at the Atowak Core Central Tourbillon. There's a few Swiss watch brands that actually make central tourbillons. One that immediately comes to mind is Roger Dubuis, but then there is another brand that I've actually featured here on my channel that basically only make central tourbillons. Those watches cost in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then Omega made one. That's a vintage watch. There are a few out there. They're all very, very expensive if you want a Swiss-made central tourbillon. Now, I have to ask the question, is a Swiss-made central tourbillon worth 30 to 40 times what you would spend on a watch like this? And I can tell you right off the bat, the answer is no. That is insane that anybody would spend that much money on a watch. I think sometimes when I really think about it, people are sort of caught up in names. They're caught up in the perception of quality. This is actually a very nicely made watch. The movement has beveled edges. I'm going to do close-ups of the tourbillon so you can see what I'm talking about of the movement. This feels like a very well-made watch in your hands, and it doesn't cost. It actually costs less than the tax that you would spend on a watch that is just a run-of-the-mill tourbillon from a Swiss brand, a $30,000 tourbillon. This is something very special. It's a little bit hard to read, I'm not going to lie. The hours and the minutes are separated by rings. So the inner ring is the minutes. So when you pull out the crown, you can see the minutes are right there. And then the outer ring is the hours. So you could see the hours advancing there. This is all Lume, so you could actually read all of this in the dark. However, day to day, it's not the most legible watch in the world. That's because it's obviously something a little bit outlandish, no matter how they're designed, because you're not going to be able to have traditional hands. This is very well proportioned. This is a 42 millimeter watch. You have a 13.5 millimeter thickness. The case on here is reminiscent of a 70s style case. What they've done here is used a very comfortable case that they've used for one of their Wandering Hour watches. So you're getting a very large crown of around 8.5 millimeters, 8.3 millimeters, and around 13.5 millimeters thick. That's including the domed sapphire crystal, which is actually part of the design. It sort of flows with the case, so there's no edge or anything like that on that sapphire crystal. There's plenty of AR coating, so it is pretty easy to view, although you're not going to be able to tell the time at a glance because you do have that very large central carousel rotating tourbillon, which is really just sort of fun for the eyes. Do you need a tourbillon? Probably not. It's just for bragging rights, right? I mean, no one really actually needs a tourbillon. If you need something accurate, just get a quartz watch. That's really the answer to that. But this is an interesting case as well. So you're getting a screwed together case. You're getting 50 meters of water resistance. It comes with 2 straps, and I believe the lug to lug is around 49 millimeters. So this is very wearable on your wrist, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. So everything here is made for comfort, basically. So you could really wear this watch every day if you wanted to. You could wear a central tourbillon every day. That's pretty cool. Now, it is hand wound, obviously, so you do have this giant crown. It feels really nice. It feels very, very nice, and everything feels really good when you actually pull the crown out. The time, changing the time, everything is smooth. You have a very nice buckle on here. It is large, it's signed Atowak, and you do have quick release on these straps. They put quick release on all of their straps. They either integrate it into the strap or they integrate it into the case. I think that's pretty impressive. Again, considering the price of the watches that they sell, it's usually watches that are a lot more expensive that get this sort of attention to detail. Speaking of details, the movement on here is beautiful. They've done a really good job decorating it. It's partially skeletonized, so when you turn it over, you can see that the movement is skeletonized. They've beveled the edges, they've decorated the movement. It gets 120 hours of power reserve, so that's 5 days on one wind. That is pretty incredible. Again, something that you see from very high-end brands like Blancpain and other brands like that. They create movements that have 120-day power reserves. Usually that is reserved for higher-end in-house movements. This movement is made by Peacock, I believe. I'm not 100% sure of that. They call it the AKT01. I believe Peacock make a central tourbillon. Peacock make very high-end movements, Chinese movements, and this, I believe, is made by Peacock. That is not a bad thing. That's actually a very good thing because they do make really well-made watches. A lot of high-end brands actually use them, like Atelier Wen, who use one of their automatic movements. So this is somewhat of a higher end movement from them. 120 hours of power reserve, you cannot go wrong. This is also a limited edition. This is PVD coated. This is the red version. I think they're calling this blazing red. They also make a blue version. This is limited to 99 pieces. And again, it comes with 2 straps. So it comes with a red strap and this black strap. I think it looks best on the black strap in my opinion, but the red also matches really well with that dial. This is red, the blue, it's just that ring in there that is red or blue, so it's not a huge difference. And like I said, this is limited to 200 pieces basically overall, 198 through both colorways. Now I'm going to talk about price. I'm going to throw it on my wrist and then we will wrap up the video, but we will do a Lume shot because this does get Lume. Very quickly on my wrist today, I have my Citizen Sayosa. This is the yellow dial. I've been wearing this over the past few days. It's just a fun watch. Inexpensive, just a good looking watch to wear as an everyday, go anywhere type of watch. So a lot of the watches that I mentioned in the beginning of this video, like the Roger Dubuis or those other central tourbillons that I've mentioned from Cross, I believe that's the name of the brand, those are large. Usually they are in the range of around 44 millimeters, 45 millimeters. They are sometimes unwearable for smaller wrists. This is extremely wearable. And it's good looking. Look at this. This is really cool, especially considering the price. The price on this is $2,699. What you're getting for that price is a watch that would normally cost in the tens of thousands of dollars if it came from another brand, another Swiss-made brand or a German brand or something like that. Very impressive that they are doing this, and Atowak are constantly coming out with new crazy watches that are sort of halo watches, sort of, you know, these higher end hyper watches for very affordable prices. And that is a very affordable price in the under $3,000 range. There you go. There is a lot of Lume on this dial. It's a very layered dial. So you have this outer ring, which gives you the hours. Then there's the ring that is actually the hand. Then you have an inner ring, which is the minutes. And then you have that inner ring, which is the hand for that. And then you have the tourbillon. So there are a lot of layers. They have loomed each one of the layers. So this is just as legible as it is during the day at night. So that's very, very good. It's not an incredibly legible watch, and watches usually this style are not incredibly legible. So that is not an out of line with what would normally happen with a watch like this. So I do want to mention that, but that's pretty good. The Lume is excellent on here. They've made watches in the past. Maybe the Lume wasn't so great. This, they put a lot of Lume on here, so that is really good. I said a lot in this video. I think a lot of what I said is accurate, especially when it comes to Chinese movements. When you think about this watch, and they're able to produce this watch for under $3,000, there are brands out there charging hundreds of thousands of dollars or $100,000, $80,000 for a watch that is very similar in function to this. Central tourbillon that tells time with a very high power reserve. That's it. And yeah, they might be hand finished and there's other things that go into it, but the materials aren't that wild. I just don't see how you would pay 40 times what something like this would cost. I don't think it only goes for watches like this. It could go for dive watches, dress watches, micro brands versus major brands, and what you are getting. There are big markups on those major brands. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. Super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. I'll put a link to this watch down in the description. If you are interested, definitely check them out. Thanks for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.